Have you ever thought about dying? Well, that was a bad question, but hopefully not. Hopefully you haven't thought of dying, and please don't. But today we are reacting to the comparison of the most painful ways to die. Me personally, I think most painful, I don't know if it's most painful, but I think the worst way to die is drowning. Drowning in like the middle of the ocean. Because you know you're cooked, you know you're gonna die, but you still try your best, and it's just, you try to swim in the middle of the ocean until you die. Let's go.
Timothy Treadwell watched his torn-off arm while the enraged grizzly sank its teeth into him.
Yeah, I mean, if a grizzly bear attacks me,
echoed in his head.
I'm most likely
Both
cooked.
became victims of a merciless predator, devouring them alive.
How fast are grizzly bears?
Slow death is the scariest thing imaginable, but on the pain scale, crafted from...
Yeah, slow death is the worst thing. I don't care what anyone. Slow death, quick death over slow death, any day of the week. I feel like I could outrun a grizzly bear.
Being eaten alive,
I'm definitely more athletic than a grizzly bear.
Meanwhile, the most horrifying death is estimated at 140.
Okay, so 100 is pretty high. Gunshots only 2. Then again, it's just like your discretion.
On October 11th, 2012, workers at a seafood processing plant in Santa Fe Springs sounded the alarm. Their colleague, 62-year-old Jose Molina, had vanished suddenly.
What?
After nearly 90 minutes of searching, the boiler operator suggested opening the last loaded oven. Inside, they cooked and sterilized tuna at high temperatures. Workers had to wait half an hour for the oven to cool down. All this time, their only thought was, I hope Jose isn't in there. Unfortunately, he was in.
Oh my
opened the door, they were
days. Getting cooked alive. Okay, I think getting cooked alive, ooh, has to be one of the worst ways to die.
Horrified to
imagine you're in an oven. Oh my days.
When he noticed a malfunction. Without warning anyone, he stepped into the oven to adjust the chain inside.
What an idiot!
Another worker, not seeing Jose in place.
Oh my days. Oh.
Closed and turned on the oven. It was loaded with nearly 5,500 kilograms of canned tuna, which began to cook at a temperature of 132 degrees Celsius. Trapped, Jose likely suffered severe skin burns, and then
that must hurt like crazy.
Muscles and organs. Eventually, the poor man was boiled alive.
Oh, that poor guy.
Where, for example, 2 points are attributed.
That has to be above a bear.
To a shark bite. While dying from being literally boiled alive hits a staggering 105 points. And unfortunately, such incidents in production happen.
That's actually crazy.
In 2009, Vincent Smith II worked at an illegal chocolate factory.
Illegal
service in Camden, New Jersey. The 29-year-old
Cocoa Serve. I want what type of chocolate they're making.
Over the edge of a vat, nearly 2.5 meters deep. There, chocolate was melted and mixed. Suddenly, Vincent was struck by a mixer paddle and fell right into the hot molten mass, reaching a temperature of 120 degrees Celsius. His colleagues immediately rushed to shut down the machine. However, Vincent stayed in the chocolate for a full 10 minutes before rescuers could pull him out. Even though his body was mangled by the giant mixer,
oh my days!
The tragedy occurred because the platform he fell from was slippery from splattered chocolate and was directly above the vat without any barriers to protect workers from falling into the boiling mixture. Nevertheless, you don't have to be at a dangerous facility to experience
that is crazy,
which on the scale goes even beyond 105 points. On November 23rd, 2008.
Yeah, I think burning alive, I can't even imagine. Oh my, like imagine touching a stove just like that. Imagine how much that hurts. You're gonna have burns, blisters, and I imagine your whole butt. I can't.
A 911 dispatcher heard the shaky voice of a 76-year-old woman. It was Loretta Picard from Polk County, Florida.
I think my house is on fire, and I'm here alone, and I'm on a walker.
Firefighters were immediately dispatched to her house. The dispatcher told the woman
firefighters are some of like the saviors in our society. We have to respect them.
Couldn't, honey, if I wanted to.
That nervous laugh at the end just breaks your heart. Loretta had recently undergone surgery and couldn't move quickly without assistance.
Damn.
Plus, she couldn't see anything through the smoke. Meanwhile, the fire truck slowly made its way down the rough country road where the woman lived. Loretta was freaking out, worried that nobody would save her. constantly asking if help was really on the way and if they
Oh,
were
this is
sure
so.
they were coming for her. Then, on the recording, you could hear Loretta start coughing and wheezing, and the sound
Oh
of the fire in
no.
the background getting louder. But I can't show you what the recording captured next.
Honestly, that's one of the hardest jobs in the world. Like being one of those dispatchers. Like you hear people, those sad voice notes of people just dying every day. Like this poor woman is. Oh my! How
Because
do you know?
then, the flames engulfed the woman, who never got the help she desperately needed. She screamed wildly as she burned alive. The link to the full recording I'll leave in the description below.
That is
Loretta was dying
sad.
while firefighters were just minutes away from her yard. The phone call cut out after 20 minutes.
This makes me want to be a
and rescuers
firefighter. I
arrived
feel
at
like
the
a
scene
firefighter is
14
pretty nice.
minutes later, yet
Which-
nobody ever
it's
went
late.
inside to save her. The fire chief claimed
What?
that several firefighters attempted to enter the house, but no evidence supports his words. And the dispatcher was blamed for giving
Oh.
ineffective instructions.
The
Due
poor
to the
woman.
negligence of rescuers, Loretta died in agony because the pain from burning alive hits a staggering 108 points. You wouldn't wish such a death on anyone. But you know what? I came across a story where a person knowingly subjected themselves
poor woman.
to such suffering. On June 11, 1963, several American correspondents, including Malcolm Brown, gathered outside the Cambodian embassy in Saigon. The day before, journalists were informed that something important would happen there. Buddhists were deeply offended by the disrespect of their beliefs by the South Vietnamese government. So, around 350 monks and nuns gathered for another peaceful protest. Suddenly, not far from the presidential palace, a car stopped and 3 monks got out, including
I feel like I've done this before in history.
Quang Duc. Malcolm pointed his camera at the trio, not realizing what he would witness through the lens next. Protesters gathered around Quang, who sat on a pillow in the traditional Buddhist meditative lotus pose, while another monk started pouring gasoline over his head. Quang
Oh, oh hell no, bro. If he's gonna burn alive, then why do?
paid no attention and prayed, and when he finished, he struck a match. The flames instantly engulfed him.
That's like what
rising
Trevor
up in
did.
Black smoke. It was a
That's like what
horrifying
Trevor did.
spectacle. Quang Duc's body slowly withering and shriveling, while his head blackened and charred. I can't show you the photo either, but I'll leave a link.
I don't even
below
want
the
to see.
video. The scene was very contrasting,
That's
as everyone
crazy.
present there loudly cried, watching the self-immolation, while the monk himself, enduring painful suffering, didn't even flinch or make a sound. Whether it was meditation
trying to-
skills or inner
I'm just trying to picture that. Imagine like sitting like this, on like what?
spiritual strength that helped the monk endure the agony of his impending death.
It's
I know
crazy.
for sure an ordinary person wouldn't last like that, let alone endure the pain that hits
110. We're getting
110
close to that 140 mark.
In 2007, a 33-year-old woman from Hong Kong named Cecilia Chung climbed to the top of Nyiragongo volcano, located
my
in the
day.
Democratic Republic of
Oh,
the Congo.
if she falls
It
in
last
there.
erupted in 2002, flooding the highly populated city of Goma with lava.
Honestly,
causing
that volcano is
widespread
like Loki, my
destruction.
nightmare. If
Since
there was a
then, the
volcano
has been
erupt,
relatively
oh,
safe,
you.
so
I feel like
tourists
the
from all over
what?
the world flock to see its famous lava lake. It looks like cracked earth in the desert, with
That looks
hellish
really
streaks
cool.
of fire rising from it.
That looks cool from behind the screen, but best believe I would never go there in real. What if I fall?
Cecilia climbed nearly 3,500 meters for this site. The woman was thrilled by the terrifying view of the lake and wanted to take a closer photo of it.
Lake?
To do this, she climbed over the edge of the crater.
Oh, what an
and suddenly,
idiot.
Cecilia slipped and fell down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
However,
not
flying
surprised.
about
What an
200
idiot.
meters, she hit a protrusion right above the lava lake. Cecilia felt piercing pain because the impact broke several bones. She was thrown into the heat, and it was almost impossible to breathe because she was too close to the lava, the temperature of which could
What?
reach 950 degrees Celsius.
Lavas. I didn't even feel.
Helicopter
What?
rescuers and a volcanologist were sent to the scene. At first, Cecilia showed signs of life. However, the rescue operations were stopped due to poor visibility. As a result, without waiting for help, she fell into the volcanic lava lake. Eyewitnesses even hoped that the woman died instantly after the impact and fell into the lava without feeling any pain. The thing is that on the
I want
pain
to know, if you fall into lava, is it like, do you reckon you instantly die? I mean, 950 degrees, it has to be instant death, I feel like. If you fall into
scale,
that.
it hits a
Instant.
whopping 110 points.
Instant death, I
Death
feel
in
like.
lava, although painful, is instantaneous. That's
Yeah,
why
it's
many
instant.
people consciously chose it to end their lives. In
What?
1933, a schoolgirl named
What's
Kyoko Matsumoto climbed Mount Mihara, located on the Japanese island of Ito-Ushima, with a girl from her school. Kyoko was in love with her friend. However, in Japanese society at that time, same-sex relationships were condemned, and this oppressed Kyoko so much that she didn't want to live anymore. The schoolgirl threw herself into the volcano crater before her lover's eyes. The scariest thing in this story
I mean, well done. You know what?
is
I
that the
mean,
girl became a role model for many Japanese people who wanted to end their lives. By 1935, almost 1,300 people had lost their lives by jumping into Mihara, until the Japanese government built barriers around the area. Still,
see, I don't know how to respond to that. Like, if people are willingly throwing themselves in lava, we're talking about in lava, then would you want me to, it's like, it's sure, I don't even think it's painful, like.
as countless stories show, people often ignore such prohibitions. In 2016, Colin Scott and his sister,
Colin
Sable,
Scott.
went on a tour to Yellowstone National Park.
I want to go
known for its
Yellowstone,
geothermal
but
springs.
hopefully this
They
doesn't
really
change my
look
mind.
fascinating, but getting close to them is dangerous. The water here
Geothermal.
may not be as hot as lava in a volcano, but still,
That seems
the
nice.
96 degrees reached by the local water body
Woo!
are enough to cause burns and even kill a person.
Yeah, that
But
is
Colin and
definitely
Sable
tough.
ignored numerous warning signs.
Yellowstone
and crossed
looks,
the
I want to go
restricted area.
Yellowstone. That's one of my
Suddenly,
dreams.
the guy slipped and fell into the hot water near the Pork Chop Geyser. Such a death is more painful than death in a volcano because
100%.
in a hot spring, it doesn't happen instantly, but slowly. Moreover, in almost all the park's water bodies, acid sulfate liquids are present to a greater or lesser extent. So when Scott's sister returned with a few rangers, only parts of her brother's head, torso, and arms were visible in the hot spring. By the
Whoa. That's imagine seeing like your loved one's head just
next
floating
morning,
around.
Colin's body had completely dissolved. It seems that there couldn't be worse pre-death suffering, but, in fact, there could be. Dissolving in a geyser is far from 140 points on the pain scale. On September 13th,
I wonder what
1987,
140
in
is.
Goiânia, Brazil, the owner of a local landfill, Devair Ferreira, invited neighbors, relatives, and friends over to show them his interesting find. Devair showed them a strange powder. It was sparkling so mesmerizingly that guests rubbed it on their skin like glitter and took it with them to give to someone else. Yet none of them had any idea what this powder really was. The thing is, the man brought scrap metal, and someone brought from a neglected hospital a metal capsule to his landfill. But those who did it didn't realize they had taken it from a radiotherapy machine.
Oh my days.
Devair Ferreira ordered the capsule to be cut open, where he found the powder, which was actually radionuclide cesium-137. It is used in treatment to create a source of gamma radiation capable of affecting human cells.
See, when this happens,
Specifically directed
would you want me
at
to like?
cancerous tumors. But if the radiation isn't controlled, it'll also affect healthy cells. Devair, not realizing it, set off a deadly domino effect.
That's
so
what I'm
about
saying.
250 people came into contact with the powder.
Oh
Maria
my
Gabriela
days.
Ferreira, the wife of the landfill owner, began to suffer from hair loss and internal bleeding. One of Devair's hired workers, Israel Bautista dos Santos, developed serious respiratory and lung complications. The other one, Admilson Alves de Souza, had his heart affected. However, the most affected was Devair's 6-year-old niece, Lei das Neves Ferreira. She was placed in an isolated hospital room, but the staff was afraid to approach the child. The girl gradually developed swelling in the upper part of her body, hair loss, kidney and lung damage, and, just like Gabriela, she suffered from internal bleeding. On the pain scale, these feelings hit a whopping 125.
No way radiation exposure is worse than jumping in a volcano. No, I mean, I heard what he said, and I get it, but seriously, I
Points.
mean,
All the people who came into contact with the blue powder got various diseases, and this quartet later died. All the items touched by people who came into contact with the powder were buried in a repository on one of the city's mounds and marked for use only in 300 years. Such cases in ordinary life are
bro,
pretty
chemistry
rare,
scares
but
me. I'm not
people
even
who
gonna
work
lie.
directly with radioactive
Chemistry
elements
scares
risk
me.
painfully dying literally every day. On August 21st, 1945, less than 2 weeks after the bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Harry Daghlian was working with a plutonium core at the Los Alamos test site in New Mexico. He used tungsten carbide bricks to create a barrier around it because the bricks reflected neutrons coming out of the
Does that actually
radioactive
exist? Like,
plutonium
what's
bath.
on that blue
But when he
thing?
started laying bricks around the core, he suddenly dropped one of them right on him. At that moment, the brick caused an uncontrolled nuclear fission chain reaction. It covered the scientist with a deadly dose of radiation of 5.1 sieverts. After receiving a radiation burn, a person experiences countless excruciating sensations at once. The skin blisters and ulcers, after which the vessels in it burst, and the person dies. In addition, due to the high dose of radiation,
I would not
you
recommend
feel
that.
how each of your organs slowly fails until you die. And that's exactly what happened on the 25th day of Harry Daghlian's suffering. The slow death from
Oh,
radiation.
yeah. I see the concept here. The slower the death, the more painful it is on the painful scale. That's why gunshots only 2.
And all the previous steps on the pain scale are united by the fact that these pains weren't inflicted intentionally on the victims. However, fortunately, you cannot accidentally expose yourself to suffering that is at the maximum mark of 140 points.
Let me see
Even
number
if you find
140.
yourself in the mouth of a volcano or in the heart of a nuclear reactor.
Let's see number 40.
So, the most painful sensation in the world is skinning. This refers to a specific torture. Before
What?
it, the skin was softened using sunburns or hot water. Then, the torturer made incisions starting from the least sensitive parts of the body, the delicate skin of the face. The process was designed to keep the victims alive as long as possible,
Oh
maximizing
my
pain.
days.
Eventually, death could occur from
Oh.
blood, shock, or infections. But such a method of
My
punishment
days.
has existed for quite some time, since the times of the ancient Assyrians, and up to medieval Europe. Nowadays, they don't do it anymore. At least, it's
Good.
definitely prohibited by law. Write in the comments what caused you the most
I
pain.
can't even imagine that
Subscribe.
last one. I feel I can imagine some of the other ones, but that last one. Hey, what do you guys think was the most painful death? Me personally, it has to be that last one, skinning. I think the most chillest one on there is probably the jumping into a volcano. You know, if we're being honest here, jumping into a volcano, you kind of jump in it, you're dead. And I think, you know, the jump itself could be somewhat fun, I guess, but damn, I would not want to experience any of those myself. And if you want to die, then don't, because there's much more to life than death. You know, there's a lot of opportunities out there for you, and if you're feeling depressed, feeling sad, then talk to someone. Feel what I'm saying? Um, you know, death is never the best option. You know, the option could be, you know, eat like I don't even know what, and death. Never choose death, you know. So if you did enjoy that video, please do like and subscribe. And like subscribe. Like why are you not why are you watching the video up until here and not subscribing? Like just